All right, welcome back, everyone. I have a return guest this week. I have Lauren Elaine, and she was on a couple weeks ago, and she got great feedback. And so, welcome back, Lauren.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, we had a lot of fun last time, so I invited you back. And today's going to be kind of interesting because we've connected over social media, and I know you're in the real estate field and whatnot, but I don't really have a true maybe idea of kind of what your finance background or how your thought process there. So today we're going to kind of discuss maybe is, cutting back on your Starbucks coffee or that mindset, is that going to put you on the path to wealth?
Yeah. It's so funny because there's so many people that have these hard and fast rules about what you need to do. And the nature of my personality is that I don't really like rules, but I do love self-awareness. And I think it depends on who you are and having some self-awareness of where you are in your journey. So if you're just starting out and you're trying to save for that first down payment, and you are somebody who is an overspender and you buy things you don't need, you have too many clothes, you're buying the Starbucks, you're like, I'm going to treat myself type of person. And it's hindering you from getting to your goals and where you want to be, then I think it can be a really good idea to start a budget and learn how to stick to that budget. And that might mean starting to cut out your Starbucks, make food at home, not eat out, not go out to drinks with your friends. But if you're somebody who's a little bit more, you're already a high earner. Some people get into real estate and they have a great job and they already are making good money, and cutting out a Starbucks isn't really going to help them in their budgeting process because they don't have a saving problem. They just need, help getting into real estate. So I think it depends on where you are in your journey and what your goals are, and taking a good look at yourself and having that self-awareness to go, yeah, I think I do need a budget and I need to learn to stick to it. Or saying, a Starbucks isn't really going to make or break me.
All right, so before I give my thoughts on this, I kind of where growing up for you, like what would you say, you were you a big saver or were you a big spender? Like how were you growing up?
I was a big saver. Like, I had a piggy bank from the time I was a kid. I loved that piggy bank. I loved saving money. It was definitely in my nature to be a saver. But then when I was in college, I became more of a spender because I was wanting to go out. And every weekend before we'd go out, we'd go to like Forever 21 and get like a new outfit. We had to have a new outfit every weekend. And I was working in a restaurant and going to school, and I had no savings whatsoever. As money came, money went. And so I've had different iterations, but I think my true nature is more to be a spender or a saver. Sorry, a saver.
Yeah, I'm a horrible saver, and I think for me, yeah, I've made every mistake out there, but I think I look at it more from a standpoint as if I would rather figure out how to just make more money.
Yeah.
So, like you're talking about, is this little savings here going to make that much of a difference? I think for me, even though I do agree, saving, learning how to save and having a budget is important. I think it's more important to figure out how to increase your income or make more money. And that's going to help you out in the long run. And I think part of that is, by you making more money, then you just become somewhat of a better budgeter or saver because now you're making this money and you're like, okay, I don't, I'm working so hard for this money. I'm going to figure out how to allocate it a certain way. So that's the way I kind of look. I think the savings, it's good, but it's kind of almost like a scarcity mindset, right? And I think that's from that standpoint. So that's the way I look at it.
Yeah. I I have like different images in my mind of different friends who, like, I do have friends that could really benefit from learning how to live life on a budget. I mean, they'll go into credit card debt to get the latest and greatest of what they want. And that type of person, as they make more money and have a higher income, they'll just continue to increase their spending with their income. Versus I have other friends who, yeah, they'll have a little treat here or there, or they'll buy a little thing, but really their spending isn't out of control. And so they do have, like you're saying, a good enough foundation that if they just increase their income, that they'll have more room to allocate money towards their goals and the things that they want to do. So yeah, I completely agree. And I feel like also at our age and like the place that we are in our lives, we are able to increase our income. When I was in college, I was like, I wanted to take my first international trip to Thailand. And I was going to school and I was working like three jobs at the same time. I was working in a restaurant, I was babysitting, and then I was selling avocados to restaurants, like going around the neighborhood and collecting avocados. And I couldn't really increase my income. So because I didn't have more time, I didn't really have more skills. The only thing I could do was learn how to better save my money so that I could save for that big trip. So if you're maybe in that age bracket, you're that space of your life, saving can be a good way to go. But if you're like us, where you have a few more skills, you could potentially land a bigger, better job. You could negotiate your salary, work on those kinds of things. Then you can increase your income to a point where you would never even be able to touch the amount of money that you would save just from not going to Starbucks. It's like it's going to make way more of an impact if you learn how to negotiate your salary than it is to not buy that $5 Starbucks.
I think I agree. And I think that's kind of though where I find where people sometimes struggle, right? They become such great savers that they
Mm-hmm.
don't take that next step. It's so comfortable, like they save, they're very good at it, and they got this great base. And a lot of people don't put themselves out there and go to that next level, like you're saying, to maybe increase their income or learn new skills. And I find that transition is so crucial. And I feel like you said, like, how did you take that step? Like you said, you're a saver, and then now, you're kind of a risk taker a little bit, in this real estate game. So how did you make that transition?
Yeah, I feel like everyone who's in real estate investing is has a little bit of ability to handle some risk. And so, I mean, really, for me, it was I started saving to do that first trip, but then when I wanted to get into real estate investing, I had saved a little bit, and I knew that if I didn't take that risk to spend the money and put it into that first house, I I would never do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm as young as I'll ever be. I don't have kids right now. I felt like at that point in my life, I could really take the risk. And if I lost all that money, I could make it back. You can always make money back. And also I did a lot of research. I did educate myself and I surrounded myself with people that I trusted that I could go to if I had questions. So I was, but truly, I didn't know what I was doing. Like I didn't even really know the process of buying a house. I had purchased one, like primary residence, but I was then buying a house from a wholesaler. And, it was just a totally different process. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't know what these basic terms were. In You just learn by jumping in and you have to go for it sometimes and hope that it works out. And if it doesn't, just have the mindset that you're in this for the long term and it's not a short term gain, which so many people get into real estate investing and they're like, I'm going to be financially free in 3 years. And it's not really a realistic goal if you have the mindset that, like, if I do this over the next decade, I could be financially free, then you'll eventually learn. You can't fail if you just keep pushing through and keep going.
Yeah, that's a great point. I think that's super important. Like you're talking about, like, who you surrounded yourself with, right? And same thing. My friends are great and people I grew up with, but a lot of times these circles that you're with, you know, everyone's going out. You're partying on the weekends, and everyone's just spending their money, and they're not thinking 5 to 10 years down the road. And I look back at some of my friends and I see how much further ahead they are, they're, I guess you could say they're somewhat retired now, and they're traveling, so they put in the time and sacrifice. So a lot, like you're saying, yes, who you surround yourself with and how, their maybe relationship with money is super important. And I think that's another critical point. Like the savings part is great, like I think, but it's such a it's important, but it's also kind of a small game, because it's pretty much, you're not learning that much skills there. Like you're talking about, like your relationship with money, even like just knowing, like buying a house. Like I make the same thing. I had no idea what it was at first, right? Like the process and whatnot. But now doing transactions and going through the process multiple times with investment properties, you see how the wealthy people actually view money and their relationship with money. And a lot of times, like even interest rates, they're not too concerned with what the interest rate is. It's more, how much money are they going to make on this investment? So I think that's the important part to understand about like saving and learning how to make money.
Yeah, that's where like the self-awareness comes in, because I do see a lot of people who get into this like coupon clipping mindset and this saver mindset. And like you said, it's almost retractive. It makes them become this person of lack, and they feel like there's never enough, and they go down this path of a lack mindset and trying to save too much, and rather than looking where there are opportunities to make more money. And so it's a balance. It's like self-awareness and retraining all of those habits that you learned as a kid, or those things that you learned about money that may not be true. And that's where our money beliefs are really more important than whether we are saving or spending. It's like, what do we believe about money to be true, and diving into that, because I know that I did a lot of self-reflection on that. I grew up thinking loans were bad. Was of the mindset of like pay everything off, and I still believe that to a degree for things like, my car I own outright, but a house that is making money and I'm making a return on it, then I think loans are great. So just learning what is good debt and what is bad debt is way more important than whether you're saving and pinching pennies.
Yeah, I think, like you said too, it just comes back to understanding who you are, right? Like, the having the paid off home, paid off car, sometimes that's great when you're retired, right? But having a loan or having debt or good debt on certain things might be necessary while you're trying to grow, right? Like you said, it helps you leverage, helps you scale. So it always comes back to kind of your personality and what type of individual you are. And yeah, like I said, there's so many ways to make money or build wealth, and there's not one right way to do it. Like there's so many people doing the Dave Ramsey method, no debt, no credit card, and it works for them.
Yeah.
And there's other full people that are leveraged, like Grant Cardone, and they're leveraging properties, and that's how they're building wealth. So it really, like you said, it really comes down to your personality, your style. But I think the most important thing is that you're doing something, you're taking action. That's the most important thing.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
and educating and learning, whether it's the Dave Ramsey method or the Grant Cardone method, you're going to get there either way if you put in the time and you do it for long enough. It may take longer with the Dave Ramsey method because you have to buy everything outright and there's no debt, but you know, that's fine too if you get yourself to a place where you're reaching your goals and having some financial independence.
Yeah. So we talked, I said Dave Ramsey, I said Grant Cardone. Is there any maybe finance book that you've read that has really influenced you?
I don't know if finance, I don't know. I can't think of any other like specific finance book that I have read that, I mean, like I said, I read these real estate strategy books where, about the like Burr method and putting in your sweat equity, buying a house, renovating it, and then refinancing it, pulling the money out, and then, doing that again, repeating it. And so those things, but I don't know that I really ever read too many like finance or strategy books. I had a mentor who taught me a lot about loans, and it really just he just kind of was telling me about all of the mortgages that he has on his businesses. And for me, coming from this mindset of not having debt, that debt is bad, and needing to own things outright, I really learned from him. I was like, oh, wow, this guy is technically millions of dollars in debt and it's working for him. And he tries to use loans almost exclusively because of tax reasons. They're not taxable. So when you're pulling equity out of your business, he's growing his business and pulling the equity out. So I learned strategies from him, but I haven't really read too many books that on finance that have like really impacted me. It's more the other things like kind of surrounding it, like mindset stuff. What about you? Have you read any finance books?
Well, for me, like, everyone usually mentions Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and
Yeah.
it's not really a finance book, and it's not even really a real estate book, I would say. Like you're saying, it's kind of a mindset book.
Mm.
However, it took me multiple times to read it to really understand it. So this is kind of like the phases that I've been in. So when I was a lot younger, when the book first came out, my uncle who was in real estate, gave us all this book to read, and I read it, and I just thought it was the dumbest book ever. I thought this book makes no sense, because like for me, I live in Hawaii. Real estate has high values. My parent, we were told, buy a home, live in it 30 years, and now you're wealthy. And so for me, Rich Dad Poor Dad, I'm just like, how is your home not an asset? Like, this is just the stupidest book ever, and it made no sense to me. And then maybe 15 years later, when I read it again, I'm just like, damn, I should have listened to this book. I should have followed all these things and did it years ago. But it's definitely, like you're saying, assets, liabilities, income over expenses. And if I just really understood that, then, I would be way ahead. But, like you said, it's just mindset and where you're at in your life and who you're surrounding yourself with. So for me, yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad, if you just understand that pretty much asset versus liability, that's going to really help you a lot.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah.
I, I also have enjoyed Ramit, which he's more of like a budgeting person.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah. He has, I got for my friend a little journal that he does where you talk about your dreams. You know, you have like goals that you set out for yourself, dreams, your ideal rich lifestyle, and like what that looks like for you. And that's something that I've always done naturally. So when I was really wanted to do this trip to Thailand, I and I'd be out with my girlfriends and I'd be like, oh, I really want to buy these new clothes that I definitely don't need, but really want. I had calculated how much money would I need for one day in Thailand. And I had calculated like $25 a day. So I would look at this, new dress for going out in the weekend. I would go, is this worth giving up one day in Thailand? And I was like, no. And then it was easy because I had something that I was comparing it to. And I think that's something that's really important is to have a compelling future that you're working towards and not just saving for saving's sake because it's always harder to say no. But when you compare it to something that you really do want and you can say, is this getting me closer to my goals and dreams? And when it's a hard no, then it's just like, I don't even want it. It lost its allure because I'm like, I'm going to Thailand. You guys have fun this weekend. I'm going to wear these old dusty clothes because I'm working towards this bigger goal.
Totally agree. Yeah. I mean, like I said, people don't understand too. Like, I'm sure you hear it a lot. You have these investments, these rental properties, and people always are asking me like, "Why are you driving this older vehicle?" It's paid off, and now I look at it like I don't have any monthly payment for it, so I'd rather drive. I'm going to drive it to the ground, and and it's like, yes, I'm generating income from all these properties, but it's just going to other assets currently, right? Like I'm not
Yeah.
retired yet. So I'm just funneling all of that into other investments currently until the time comes. And people don't seem to realize that they think, oh, money comes in, you spend it, you go travel, you do these things. But right now, for me, it's just going into other investments. And I think that's the hurdle that people also have to get over too, right? Just when money comes in, you want to be investing part of it and putting into other, hopefully income producing assets. But I think I know where we're gonna head for our next topics in the next few weeks after you mentioned Ramit. So I think there's
Oh,
some
okay.
question. Yeah, because I do like a lot of his information. I think, yeah, he's very controversial for a lot of people, I think. So I already know, I think. So I think we still can be friends after this. After this
Okay.
discussion, I think, we can keep, having weekly chats if you're up for it. But
I
like I
passed the
said,
test.
no, like I said, I like that, there's different processes there. And, this was always, I mean, I was always going to have you back. I'm just playing around, but it's good to, like I said, we've connected, I interviewed you, but I never truly really maybe saw where your viewpoints come in. And I like that, people, when they come on, we kind of have maybe different viewpoints or different backgrounds. But yeah, this should be fun. I mean, so, whenever you're up for it, and I know you're getting over a cold and things, but yeah, I'm glad we're able to do it this week. And yeah, I know what topics I think I want to come up with the next few.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
but
I love
yeah,
it if you're doing like a weekly or bi-weekly
yeah.
session.
I think it keeps you on your feet, right? It keeps you on your toes, right? You gotta kind of always see where you're at in life, and it kind of holds you accountable. So yeah, so
Mhm.
hopefully we can keep doing this, and this was fun. And yeah, welcome. We'll do it again.
All right. I can't
All right.
wait.
Okay, thanks, Lauren. Bye.
Thank you.